Noord-Gesig near Soweto are demanding answers after two men were tied up and beaten to death. They were tied to a pole and stoned by a group of men from a nearby community on Sunday. The deceased were apparently accused of stealing a car battery, something which their families have denied. Newsroom Africa's Malungelo Boy has more details.
The streets of Noord-Gesig are quiet for now, but these marks are signs of anger over the killings of the two men. A block away, Kim Paulser sits under a marquee erected for the funeral of her younger brother, Dalton Butler, who was killed on Sunday. She is shaken and angry.
They attempted to burn them, so they were going to burn my brother while he was still alive.
But they beat him up?
They did. They did. Apparently with a spanner, I'm not sure, and a rum from the tire. They took it and it drew his head, like he got a lot of headshots.
Paulser says the family wants justice.
Where are they going? What is happening to the suspects? There's no arrest that's been made. One of the guys, one of the suspects in Panyaza moved out. He's gone. They're doing nothing. They hanged him upside down on the washing lines. They hanged him upside down and hit them. That's what they did to them. I wouldn't just leave it to the law because I don't believe that anything is gonna happen on their side.
You don't think
because
there's going to be justice?
No, I don't.
Why?
Because I believe that the justice system is broken, and for people like us, they don't care about us.
In another section of this community, Clayton Ishmael's family is also traumatized and seeking answers.
My brother has a daughter. She's 10 years old. So yeah, he left her behind.
And how's she coping?
She's trying, but she had problems Sunday. Monday night, she was in a bad state in it, but we're trying to speak to her and she's okay. The main thing that the family wants to see is that justice is served, because now, you know, the guys are so angry. They want to actually take matters into their own hands and they want revenge, like an eye for an eye type of thing.
But police are calling for calm.
We haven't arrested anybody yet, but there are people who were identified who were involved in this beating up. So sooner or later, they are going to be arrested.
2 cases of murder are being probed. For Newsroom Africa on Channel 405, I'm Malungelo Boy in Noord-Gesig.
Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi has sent condolences to the family of a 12-year-old who was killed outside a Katlehong school. The grade 6 learner was hit by a stray bullet yesterday afternoon. The child was rushed to a hospital where she later died. The MEC joins me now in studio. Thank you so much for your time tonight. It's been a long day. I imagine also quite an emotionally heavy day, having to visit the family of this young learner and also the family of the grandfather who died, being caught up in this ambush, as it were. What kind of questions were they asking you?
Emotionally draining questions, to be quite frank, because the irony is that the kumbi that was used by the assassins was parked just at the gate of the learner's house. And they say they saw that kumbi for almost 2 to 3 hours. Least they know that that's the kumbi that is going to take the life of their child. And when kids came back from this school trip, you know, children were just excited to meet their parents, and when this parent stepped out to welcome the 2 grandchildren, everyone had bullets flying all over. Unfortunately, he was struck and he died instantly, but the learner was rushed to hospital. Unfortunately, she died this morning. And when I met the family, it was quite clear they were emotionally devastated. Both families, and they're asking for answers, and it's very difficult for us to give them answers, and that is why we are calling upon the law enforcement agencies to assist us to track these perpetrators.
There has been some suggestion in different reports that this violence may have been linked to a rivalry among taxi associations. From what you've been able to gather, is that the case?
Indeed, indeed, it is. The local council and the community leaders gave us a detailed briefing. Unfortunately, the family of this parent have been attacked almost 3 times this year. Before yesterday, the last incident, the last attempt to assassinate the parent happened around June. Last year, December, they lost a child through the same. And when they went to bury the child in KZN, the Akumbi was also attacked. So the community leaders believe that it's related to the industry, and that is why we are calling upon the law enforcement agencies to. But Cathy, to be quite frank, these are dogs of war. These are people that, regardless that there are children around, they just open fire. I mean, if you check the spent cartridges, you can see that it was shoot to kill, nothing else. So no matter how many children were involved, they were going to do it. That is why at least we are relieved that the Premier have just appointed a retired judge in Gauteng to preside over a commission of inquiry to investigate taxi wars in Gauteng. And we are hopeful that some of them will be named through this inquiry and will know who's paying them, what for, and why will people resort to violence to resolve differences.
As far as you know then, for whatever reason that this family had become a target, are they operating taxis firstly? And if they are these taxis still servicing learners at the school? And that really speaks to future risk from here on going forward. So is there a risk of this happening again?
No. The industry is not transporting learners. It's a separate industry that is taking workers to work, I'm told. It's a fight between the taxi association that are taking workers or passengers from Katlehong to Pretoria or Tshwane. So it has nothing to do with our scholar transport. It was just coincidental that learners were coming from a school trip, and that's where these assassins waited for the parent to come and collect the child. And when he was collecting his grandchildren, he was attacked.
I imagine it's a very difficult situation to try and manage going forward, even if when it comes to installing rather tighter security measures. I don't know where you would even begin with such a process.
It's true. We can't meet the caliber of the weapons these people are using. I mean, they're using high caliber weapons. And if we have to hire security, the least we can do is somebody with knop gear outside, and that particular individual can't stop this kind of people. And we just have to rely on law enforcement agencies, Cathy, to assist us, because in the absence of that, to expect an education system to be a security system or security experts, it's going to be very, very difficult for us.
Those very same law enforcement agencies are the ones which, when we're in conversation with the taxi industry just earlier this week, they said have let them down, because they're the ones that are not conducting investigations, and therefore there are never any arrests for these shootings, there are never any arrests for the killings that are taxi associated. So to the extent that law enforcement, by and large, has failed when it comes to addressing this violence, or at least trying to uncover its root, what happens in the interim? I mean, do you foresee that the 72-hour arrest that you've called for will even take place?
It has to. We must not lose hope, Cathy, because if you do that, then we are all exposed. Law enforcement agencies must do their work. The release of the crime stats last week didn't even build the morale that the country needs. We need to be assured that indeed we are safe. We need to be assured that the law enforcement agencies are equal to the task. But the reality is that we are starting to doubt that. That is why we are relieved that the Premier appointed this inquiry just to check the industry, because this industry is the one that has recorded high levels of violence and deaths. So we just need to find a way of supporting the law enforcement agencies to do their work.
Sure. Just to change gears slightly, Later on tonight, we're going to be talking about the impact of the Concord ruling around spanking children and discipline in the household. I wonder, given the fact that corporal punishment has been outlawed for a significant amount of time now, are there mechanisms and means of disciplining children which have been developed in the education system, which you have found to be useful, which you think might be beneficial for parents in the home?
Definitely. Remember, violence breeds violence. An eye for an eye make all of us blind. So we have developed programs and mechanisms to ensure that learners understand that if you misbehave, either you get something that we call detention, you get something called demerits, which simply means that if there are school trips, you can't go to school trips. If there are sporting activities, you can't go to those sporting activities as part of the punishment. But also we've got the disciplinary committee of the SGB to say you might be suspended for a week and you must be expelled if the situation is beyond rehabilitation. So there are systems, they are working, and we really believe that the Concord decision just cement the need for us to be human, resolve matters appropriately and correctly, build a new caliber of children that will know that violence breeds violence. We live in a violent situation. I mean, there are stories that have just run now where people will tie somebody around a pole and attack that person to death for a battery. I mean, a life of a human being equal a car battery. So we need to start at the bottom, and to start at the bottom is to make our schools violence-free and teachers to be respected and learners to respect teachers, so that we don't use corporal punishment to resolve our differences. There are many people that were supposed to be doctors today. They left schooling because of corporal punishment. There are many people that are illiterate today because when they knew that the cheaters were going to attack them tomorrow, they didn't go to school up until today. So we just have to use alternative mechanism. We have no choice.
Sure. Let's see what they for tonight. Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi. So after the short break, then we've lined up a panel of experts who are going to help us then dig deeper into that Concord ruling. All of that in a moment. You're live on News at Prime. Do stay with us.